Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Oxfit podcast. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, and I'll let him give us his accolades. But this is Kevin Gregory, and nickname on Instagram is Bubbles the Clown, right?
Yep, that's it.
Let's start there. Where does the nickname come from?
Spartan race in the early years, people used to dress up and wear costumes, and I wore a clown mask once, and then it kind of got a nickname, and then I kept wearing it, and it developed a whole persona of itself over the years, starting back in like 2014. So until Underdog came to be in like 2021, that was my claim to C-list fame, I guess. They're in the the Spartan world and Tough Mudder. So Bubbles the Clown was often seen running around the course with the mask on, making jokes in a high pitched voice,
So
having a good time.
that's your alter ego. That was
That's
like
it.
that's the fun version of you.
Yeah.
The last few years, it seems like probably a different version of you has had to show up at these events, though, right? Like, um, tell us about you were the DEKA world champion. Is it the DEKA Strong
Mm-hmm.
world champion? Is that the last 2 years you've been there?
DEKA Strong individual 2 years ago. So 2023, 2024, Colin Stiefer and what's his name? Chris Bonhoff both got me at the end of the race. So I finished third in 2024. But in teams, I love running teams. I love running teams with different partners because it's always a different approach. The intensity, the fun. You don't want to let your partner down. And I've won 8 DEKA teams world championships. So
Wow. So
variety of
teams world
distances.
champions, and then the 2023 you said.
Yep, 2023 DEKA Strong individual.
Okay. How's it feel to be on like the cutting edge of this? Like, it seems like it's so new and so young, right? Like, you're like at the start of it feels like another fitness revolution, right? I don't know about you, but been doing Spartan races and stuff like that back in the day, but I more got into this stuff through CrossFit originally around 12, 13 years ago. And I was like in one of the first CrossFit gyms in England that had opened. And I remember going in, and it was so new that the guy tried to explain to me, this is the workout on the whiteboard. Everybody comes in and does it. And I was just like, so we all just do the same thing? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I don't get it. He's like, all right, well, just come twice a week. I guarantee by the end of this week, you'll be unlimited and you'll be coming every day. And I was like, all right. So I signed up for twice a week. I think at the end of my second class, I went, yeah, unlimited. I'll come every day. And I was just in from then on, and I've got, now I own 2 gyms. Been going, this is year 9 for the gym that we're at here.
Nice.
And it feels like this is like another version of that, right? Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I think when people talk about what's going to happen, or we have this new race or whatever the movement is, I guess, you hear people say, and you're like, all right, well, sounds kind of cool. I don't know how big it's going to get or whatnot. And I did CrossFit as I was starting to get in a Spartan race. CrossFit was starting to like get more popular. So I was training for Spartan with CrossFit, and then I would go do the Spartan races, and the communities were completely different, but they both had a great sense of community. And I was like, this is what I need. I played college sports. And once your team graduates and everyone leaves, it's like, you don't get that back. You can't mimic it because you're not on a team. So that transition out, and I've watched countless other college athletes like get out and then move into like work and then realize like, oh, I used to work out all the time. I used to eat all the time. Half of them balloon up because they're still eating the same amount of food, but they're not exercising at all because they don't have practice. And then the other half, probably all of them are lacking a sense of community. So I think that's what drew me into both the CrossFit initially and also Spartan race. And what really drew me out of CrossFit was as a 6'3", 230-pound athlete trying to run faster at Spartan race and getting my first coach that did like an OCR coach. He's like, asked me how many days, like, what are you doing now? Like, that's where you need, where are we at? So that way we know how to go. And I was like, well, I do CrossFit 6 times a week. And then I race on the weekends. And He's like, all right, how many days a week do you run? I'm like, maybe like 1 or 2. And he's like, okay, how many obstacles have you failed? And I'm like, not many. Like, I missed a beer here and there. He's like, so you're spending 6 days a week working on something you're already good at and spending 1 to 2 days a week running, which is your biggest opportunity. And that really like changed my outlook on preparing for a Spartan race, because I mean, I did the open, it was a blast, but I'm like, okay, I'm top 100,000 in the world. Like, woo, what percentage is that? Like, I'm not going to regionals or whatever the next step would be. But Spartan race, I'm like, okay, I was top 50% this week. Next week, I go to a new course. All right, I was top 40%. And then over the years, I worked my way into the top 10. I got some elite podiums and whatnot. But then once this kind of came, DEKA, High Rocks, I was like, oh, wow, this actually suits my build. I'm not running against 140-pound cross-country athletes that are doing watered-down obstacles that used to be hard, but now they're easy in a running race. I'm like, I could potentially still podium an elite race, but the chances are based on who shows up, and that's pretty much it. Like, no one's failing obstacles anymore. Yeah. So I need to get my 5K time down to the mid-teens.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, you're talking about, you know, the perspective from the best, and that's kind of what I like about what DEKA have done. Because I saw like some of the High Rock stuff that was coming out, and I was like, oh, it's kind of cool, but it's a lot of running based stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, like it was really like it's a 7K run, and it's mostly cardio based stuff, right? Like there's some obstacles in there that are like a little bit heavy, but then I tried to do kind of my own version of that. So I was like, okay, let's try this, and I set out a course. And I made it way too complicated. It was like you do like different stations in between. So it's like 300 double unders, then something else. And it was just way too complex. I think I had double taps in there, which I don't know if you know, is like a chest to bar pull up and a toes to bar and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it was like some people quit halfway through, which I'd never seen before. People were throwing up, and I was like, okay, like I designed this just for me. This is not going to work. It's all my strengths. So then I saw DEKA, and I was like, I don't really get. At first, I was like, I don't really understand these like tube things that you've got to like. Yeah. They're not very cool. And like, and then I put them in and saw that most people could safely move them, and the best could get this amazing workout, but everybody could finish it. And I was like, oh, this is what it's about. This is what it's about, because we got 300 people in the gym, and most of the times when I put up an event that we're going to do on the weekend, everybody has an excuse. Yep. They can't get away for 3 hours. They can't, they don't like running. And I'm like, well, there's no running in this one. Well, I can't be here all day. Well, you can schedule a time and we'll get you in that slot, and it'll take you 20 minutes. And like, got rid of all the excuses. That now we can give you a start line, and we can then retest you later in the year. And that community like can come back into the sport. You know what I mean? Because I feel like everybody, once this fitness thing kind of evolved, everybody was off doing their own thing. Nobody was training together again. No one was doing the same workout. Everyone's doing all kinds of crazy stuff to try and be better at something that there's a 1% chance, like you said, of them getting to even a start line, right? Or qualifying for an event. And now we've got something where you don't have to qualify. Everybody can do it. You can bring a friend. We can do it in our gym, and we can just have a good time. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is what it's all about. And High Rocks looks cool. We're a High Rocks affiliate. Can't wait to go and do one. But for me, I just enjoy the like simplicity and the fun of DEKA right now, you know?
Yeah, DEKA's definitely been the catalyst of underdog growth. Like, we became an DEKA affiliate immediately, but our general clientele was just, you know, the general population weight loss kind of functional training people. And then once we hosted a DEKA, we had a bunch of people I'd known from past gyms I worked at. And then as we started to grow, we started putting training into like getting better. Like you mentioned, like the people just get to the starting line. Anyone can do this. And I laugh when people are like, oh, I take 6 HIIT classes a week at Orange Theory or F45, whatever the big brand name is. I don't know if I could ever do that. I'm like, you could definitely do it, and you'll probably get a good time. The people, like, I'm like, come look at this woman. She just joined the gym. She's 65. She's never done exercise, competitive, anything. And she's getting through it in 45 minutes or less. You exercise 6 days a week. You're definitely going to be able to do it. And then I love the global leaderboard because then people can actually like, yeah, you might get last place at our event because we got a bunch of, as Yancey calls them, cyborgs, but this is what we train for.
Right.
But then you look at the leaderboard and you're like, oh wow, like overall I'm top 100 in my age group in the world. And then you start, that was your first one, and now you actually have something to train for, and you put some effort in, and then you get a few minute PR on your second one because now you actually know you're not going to die. And then you just climb the leaderboard. You have all year. You have lots of options. Like if you're, I don't know how densely populated the affiliates are in the Atlanta area. I know there have been some. There's some now, but up here, like our athletes drive all over the place. Like anything within 3-4 hours, they'll go for a DEKA strong to run a 15-minute or faster race, and then they're running, like I said earlier, with partners like teams. I'll team up with you, we'll do one thing. I'll team up with her, I'll do another thing. And yes, Chris posted shout out to my 140-pound cross country runners. Those are my top of the list partners for DEKA Fit Relay. Yeah. So I need you guys to run the laps so I can do the stations. And so that, I think you build the community, the culture, and like you said, you schedule a time so you're not stuck there all day. Like some competitions, you have to be there at 8, but you don't go until 10. But then awards is until later, or maybe it's multifaceted where you have a couple of events and it's spread out like for 6 hours. This, like, you literally could drop in, do a workout, leave. I ref lacrosse, and I was refereeing a box lacrosse tournament in central Pennsylvania, and the day before I was like, oh, I have a 2-hour gap for lunch. Like, I wonder, what do I want to do for that time? And there's a DEKA affiliate in the next parking lot. So I was messaging them like, hey, can I come over do a workout? And they're like, oh, we're actually going to a DEKA strong at this other gym that's not too far away. And I'm like, okay, logistically, how far is this? Because I got to get there, warm up, compete, and leave. And it ended up being 15 minutes down the road. So I dropped in. I was there for all of 45 minutes, did the race, shook some hands, met some people, got back in the car, got back to the tournament, and stepped back on the field. And no one knew any different, but I was able to pop in, pop out, and get a DEKA strong in. And
that's funny.
That's like the busy moms. Like we have so many busy moms and family members. Like they're athletes, but they have kids that are athletes, and those kids that need to go to their games and the practices. So they're running around everywhere. So figuring out how to slot them in for races has been so cool. And I'm like, wow, I admire your dedication.
I agree. Cause yeah, we do a whole calendar. So we do a whole season of events, you know, and it's like triathlons and savage races, Spartan races, all kinds of stuff. But like you said, before I had kids, I got 2 kids now. Before I had kids, I was like, oh, come on, you'll figure it out. And now I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's not possible. So to be able to do it in the gym is what I love about the DEKA stuff. And I think the High Rocks thing is amazing, and it's cool, and it's trendy, and like it's getting more people involved in fitness that were kind of a little bit intimidated by some of the like aggressive CrossFit style stuff. Yep. So I just love that it's opening it up to more people, and I'm seeing it sneak into Atlanta. I feel like we're the same as like, we're not romantic about how we test our fitness, right? Like there's so many different ways to do it. And I think it comes from just like trying different sports. Like my favorite thing in school was PE.
Yeah.
I didn't care what we were doing today. Like, oh, it's volleyball today. Cool.
Yeah,
oh,
I love volleyball.
Yeah. It's rugby today. It's cricket today. Like I just wanted to play a different sport every day. And I miss that now. And I feel like that's what our whole gym and season is on, because like you said, I could train for DEKA Atlas every day. I mean, DEKA every day, and I'd probably get bored, right? Because it'd just be like, okay, I can just keep. But the beautiful thing about the hybrid stuff is there's so many new things coming now that you can have a whole season of events where you can have. So like we're treating it as the strong versions of everything. We're going to do it at the start of the year, and then we're going to build our endurance through the year to do the longer stuff. And then we'll start back at the strong, right? So you got a whole season of stuff. In that, we'll throw in like, we're going to have a lift off. So we're going to have a powerlifting competition at the start to go along with the Atlas and to go along with the DEKA Strong. And then towards the end of the year, we'll go the mile and maybe a fit and a High Rocks. And then there'll be triathlons and stuff going on. So you can use your fitness that you're building to go and do as many different things as you want. So like, I feel like you're the same. Is like you came from something that wasn't like, this is the only way you work out. It was like, Spartan race, you had to figure it out at the start, right? There was
Yeah.
no blueprint.
No one knew anything.
Yeah. And so it's cool to see that, like, that. How long ago was that when you first started?
My first Spartan was in 2011.
So that's now allowing you to develop these, what did you call them, cyborgs? Because
Yeah.
you figured out this way of training 10 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Just like holistic. I mean, I don't know if it's CrossFit, but some things like be harder to kill. I'm sure a lot of the fitness influencers are like, just be harder to kill. And that's not that I never had a desire of contacts. Like I wrestled in college, but I don't ever want to get punched in the face. So a lot of wrestlers end up in MMA, and I'm like, I have no desire for that. I mean, even wrestling, like getting cross-faced, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. But the mental grit I developed there can be applied to ultra running, and then the endurance there can be applied to like a mid-distance Spartan race, and then this trail run and all the in the gym stuff. And
Right.
now that like once Atlas was announced, I'm like, oh, I can do all that. I just haven't done it in years. I used to do Fran and whatever the minutes was. I don't remember the time, but it was pretty fast. Stringing all the kipping pull-ups together and going unbroken on the thrusters. I'm like, ooh, I could handle that. I just haven't done it in a while because there's no overhead pressing in Spartan race. There's no overhead pressing in DEKA. And then I'm like, high rocks, like, all right, I could do some wall balls. I used to be really good at them when I CrossFit, and now I'm like out of the loops, and I got to put some endurance in there. But now, as my training shifted from DEKA strong, very little running because I did teams in the running events, into high rocks for Vegas, a lot more running, not enough, but like just scratching the surface of starting again. But knowing I need a lot more running. But then the muscular endurance piece and the overhead stuff because it's a little heavier. And now after Vegas, building towards Miami and whatever else comes that pops up in the middle, it's fun because you actually you periodize training with traditional sports. Say like for me, lacrosse or football or soccer, whatever it is. You got the off season. You want to get strong. You want to build your base, but you're getting strong. Then preseason, you got to start mixing in the sport specific exercises, agilities, and movements. And then in the season, you're kind of just trying to maintain your strength that you built in the off season. So that way you stay durable, you don't get hurt. And then playoffs, you're supposed to have your best performance ever, but you haven't really been lifting for improvement. You're just trying to not lose it. And then you finish the season and take a little time off, and then you go back into your off season build. We don't have that. Hybrid is running all year, 12 months, around and around we go. DEKA Worlds is in November, December, and High Rocks Worlds is in May. So as soon as DEKA season's over, you're in High Rock season. When High Rock season's over, you're in DEKA season. And those are just those two brands. Like if you're doing CrossFit, the Opens right now. Right. If you're doing Spartan Race, like that just started like a few weeks ago. And then whatever else you want to do, running, like, triathlon and running's big in the fall and the spring because the moderate temperatures are nice where you're not going to die in the summertime and then you're not going to freeze in the winter. So,
yeah. So how cool is that to look that you did the DEKA Worlds and then you did a High Rocks and then you just did an Atlas and your fitness you were able to do them all is pretty cool, right? Because Atlas just came out, which is really, it's like a strength-based competition, and to say that you haven't been doing that stuff, you've been more in the DEKA strong, it's reasonable weights, but it's nothing crazy. And then you went and did a High Rocks. It's pretty cool that you're able to adjust to them three things, and your training has been so that you were able to crush Atlas, right? Like it's pretty cool to know that you still got that after not training that way for a while, right?
Yeah, I think holistically for the year, you can't really let go of anything. You just you got strength, like power, strength, endurance, and then you got like endurance, running, and then erg endurance, and then power on those, and general strength. Like you can't really not do some of that for 6 months. You don't just stop running for 6 months. So you got to keep little chunks of it in, but all right, where do we raise? All right, we're going to have more here, and then we're going to bring this down and come up here. Or these both have to be in the middle for a season and whatnot. And I think the balance of all that is what keeps you generally fit all year round. And there's other competitions that are one-offs, like the HybridCon games. I'm going to do their qualifier this year. And then Rally in the Valley, I've watched from afar the last 2 years and see all these athletes I know and compete against do that. And I'm like, they built that for me. I want to be good at biking. I want to be good at running. I want to be good at lifting. I want to be good at all this. I never wanted to be a one-dimensional athlete. So I finally signed up for those this year.
Wanted to be able to do everything, right? Like if it looks fun,
yeah,
you want to just have the fitness to go and do it, right? Like this, for example, the last couple of months, there was a rowing competition in our town. We went and did that. We finished third against a bunch of college kids. You know what I mean? And then there's we're doing DEKA Atlas this week. We've got a 5K tomorrow. We're going to do we're going to have our own lift off here, and then we're going to go do a Savage race at the end of the month. And like, you want to be able to just, oh, that looks fun. Yeah, that'll be cool. We can all go and do that. Like, that's what our training is designed for, right? Like, that's why we enjoy this style of training, because, oh, there's a marathon coming up. Well, okay, if we're running it slow, we do it together, we can finish that. Cool, let's go do that. Or whatever it is. And that's what's exciting about this style of training, is we could just go and do it. And then I just love the way there's these events and start lines popping up. For you, where did Underdog start?
So before COVID, I worked in a big box gym, just general population. I moved to a new state. I didn't know anybody except my now wife, so I moved here to meet with her. As you probably had some similarities. Is Lauren your wife? She messaged him with a smiley face.
Yeah.
So Lauren got you across the pond. So I was like, yeah, I'll move to Connecticut. I'll check this state out. I'll give you a chance. Neither of us want to do long distance. And then figuring out what I was going to do professionally, I got a job at this gym as a trainer. I'm like, good. I have control generally of my income. If I need more money, I can get more clients and whatever. During COVID, obviously, I don't know where you were located at that time, but we had clients that wanted to train, but we had a gym that said you can't train them, and we had a society that said you can't be around people. So we did what we felt was right and went to people's backyards and commanded them from a distance where they felt safe. And then eventually we realized, like, hey, it'd be cool if we actually had our own place where we could store some equipment. And then one of the other trainers and we opened up a gym together, and that was great off the rip. We both had the same mindset, but as we started to grow, his philosophy was bodybuilding and like the Instagram booty models and stuff like that, get those pants and cameras and all that, like more physique stuff. And I'm like, I want to be a DEKA affiliate. I want to host this stuff. I want to get people trained for Spartan race. The weight loss is fine. I'm really good at helping people with that, but that's not motivating me. Like, I'm giving them their workout and I'm doing something completely different because that's not my goal. So eventually we grew together apart, and then I sold him my half of that business, and then I was like, all right, time to start over again. I know what to do. You know, I just need a new space, a new name, and this and that. So that's where Underdog came to be. And some of the clients stay with him, some of them came with me, some of his clients came with me, and we started hosting DEKA Strong initially, and then once the world started opening up, then there was Spartans coming back and whatnot. But
cool. So how long have you had Underdog now then?
Underdog opened in 2021.
2021? Cool.
Yeah.
And I made the thumbnail of this as I erased Underdog and put Top Dog Fitness.
Yeah, thank you.
You got kind of the leaders in this now. Like, you can't really say underdogs anymore. But I mean, has that been a big mentality for you, being an underdog? Like, is that where it came from?
Yeah, I think like in high school football, thinking back there, like I was too small to be an offensive lineman, but that was my position. So I was the skinniest. I wasn't really skinny. I was just not, like, you think of offensive linemen, like massive guys that throw you around. I wasn't built like that. I was a little bit smaller. And then I was like the backup at every position. And then I played high school lacrosse, but I didn't start. I went to a town that had a lot of future Division I prospects, so I rode the bench as a senior behind some underclassmen. I walked on in college. I called the coach and I'm like, hey, could I try out? I want to play. And I was able to walk on, and I had a defensive strength coach take me under his wing, and he's like, you're going to start. And I'm like, all right, sweet. He's like, no, I mean, as a freshman, like right now. And I was like shocked that he saw that in me. So he's like, just do what I say. You'll be on the field as a freshman. You'll learn. You'll get better. And I was able to start all my college games after riding the bench as a senior. So that was like my first taste of, like, if you put the right work in and you work smart, then you can open up doors for yourself.
Love it.
And then getting in the Spartan race, as I mentioned, like being almost double the size of all the athletes I was competing against. It's like the starting line is me and all my little friends. And then
we're racing, get really strong and then go to something that's an endurance event. That's a fun transition.
Yeah.
That's you trying to be an underdog again, right?
Yeah. Because my whole upbringing was the football, lacrosse, and wrestling. Bigger, faster, stronger. Like you train to get bigger and faster and stronger, so you can knock someone else on their ass, and then if you knock them down, you go to the next thing. Where endurance sports is you don't touch anybody, so being bigger, you just need to be strong enough. Like look at Dylan Scott at the Vegas High Rocks. Like he's physically less muscular than most of the rest of the pack, probably all of them. But he's figured out how to be strong enough to do what he needs to do, and then run and hit the ergs and do everything and be on that day better than Hunter McIntyre, who's a manly man of
So going from that to then doing the to being like an 8-time champion and like a world champion at the strong, how do you like process that from like it's hard because like you said I've always been an underdog, right? I'm 5'9" from England. I came here on a basketball scholarship, right? So like,
wow.
The same, like that was my mentality, was like, okay, I'm smaller than everyone else, I'm from the wrong country, and my goal was to be a professional basketball player, right? So like I enjoy being an underdog. I still enjoy being an underdog. How do you feel about being like a top dog and people coming for you? Is it like a different experience, or like do you still have that mindset that you're an underdog?
I think overall you gotta have the underdog mentality every day, because that's going to get you out of bed. If you don't feel like you're chasing something, you're not going to go as fast. I've like maybe a different athlete who's always been the best has a different mentality, but for me, like if you get fat and happy, you're going to get knocked off. And it's not that I think I got fat and happy last year as to why I lost. I think I took for granted how far I was, and the two guys that beat me had a better day, and I'd have no ill will, or I was when I knew I wasn't going to win, I'm like I still got to finish. And then when I saw who beat me, I'm like I was so happy for them because they got to win and get that title and stuff. But I think as people look at me like, oh my God, you're amazing, I'm like, no, I'm still the guy next door that just trains like next to you at the gym. Like I just happened to win that day or whatnot. And I think you get that overnight success kind of experience where I was putting the work in before. I happened to win last year. I'm just going to keep putting the work in. And we have a ton of athletes that win age group or competed in elite and then getting podiums. And I think there's definitely some respect demanded from anyone wearing our jersey now. But by no means, I think it's just because we have that much focus on DEKA specifically. But for me, like I said, I'm just the next guy over. Like we're just pushing the same thing, and I've gotten really good at DEKA Strong and the bike specifically.
Was there a part of you when you did lose was like kind of excited for this year now that like, oh, I'm an underdog again, so that's good. I know what this feels like.
To be honest, I didn't have that initial thought. I was pissed because in a race like that, you have control of your own performance, and I think I didn't anticipate Chris Vonhoff passing me when he did. I thought like the year before I was like in 5th, 7th. I was like let's say it's 5th place coming into the bike. I got off the bike in 1st and I just kind of high stepped it to the finish line. Like I got to finish before they catch up to me. Mm-hmm. Or this year I got off the bike in 1st, or I got to the bike in 1st. I'm like, all right, well, I'm way ahead of where I was last year.
Yeah.
And then I hit the bike pretty hard. I did the dead balls. I'm like, all right, like I know this isn't going to be this easy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it was self-sabotage mentally or whatever. Because I was like, no, it's not that there's no good athletes here. Rylan and Grayson were right next to me. They both are superstars. And I watched Rylan drop out with a hip injury, and I watched Grayson drop the farmer carry on his he like pinched a nerve or something in his trap, and he dropped the farmers. And I'm like, holy crap, my top 2 biggest competitors they're not like chasing me. But then Chris caught up to me on the tank, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta work now. And like, I'll get him at the burpees, and I just blew up on the tank, and then we got to the burpees, and he was moving faster. I'm like, damn. And then Colin swept through and beat both of us. And I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
So I definitely didn't feel excited to be an underdog again immediately when I finished the race, but I surround myself with the right people to give me perspective, and you kind of need that like wake up call every now and again. Like, you talk to in team sports, you see a team that's supposed to go undefeated all year, they lose to somebody, they get upset by someone they shouldn't lose to, and then they're like 10 times more dangerous after that because they're like, oh shit, we gotta no more letdowns.
Yeah. So what's the goal for you for this year, for 2025? Oh, a few goals. You might have more than one that you should.
Well, I want to qualify in every event as I did last year, but then I'll be more selective as the season winds down and as I see the schedule.
What do you mean by every event? Every DEKA event? Or?
Yeah, so DEKA Strong individual, DEKA Strong men's, DEKA Strong co-ed, mile, all three, fit. I'll qualify as a age grouper in fit. I won't compete, or I won't qualify as an elite, but I will qualify co-ed and female or co-ed and male for the relay fit. And then as far as I understand, Atlas won't be at Worlds this year, but I still want to keep a pretty good time. I'll revisit it because now I have a mark. So I won't be in a hurry to like beat that until someone else does. But and same, like, I have the best DEKA Strong mark on the leaderboard, which is far from my best, but no one else is better than it right now. So like, I'll qualify, and I just got to put up a good time once Worlds comes.
Yeah.
But that also, like, getting some times on the board now gives me some things to shoot for, and then people to chase throughout the year, and we'll see how it goes. But like you said, just having fun all year, and then
so
hunker down and dial it in later.
World record in the DEKA Atlas.
Yeah,
you got the first event, right?
Yeah.
And then we're doing ours tonight. I got 13:49 yesterday.
Nice.
And I think you were 11:15 or something like that, was it?
11:18.
11:18. Okay.
Yeah.
So so I'm gonna try and chase you down on that.
I hope so.
Hopefully make you have to do it again sooner than you want. That would be fun. But yeah, it was a fun event. Like, we did it yesterday. We live streamed it, me and my head coach. And she left me on the farmer's carry, and I thought I was done. I was like, and I was like, okay, well, now I could just enjoy the workout, you know? And then I caught her back up when we got to the push press. I was like, okay, now I got to make it hurt. And so got to push to the finish. And it's just such a fun, different, it's such a different feeling to all the others too, right? Like it's hard to explain that you're not really tired. You're out of breath. You should pick everything up before you want to pick it up. Like pick it up now. And you're like, 5 more seconds. Pick it up now every time, right? So
yeah. The thing, I mean, tips for anyone that hasn't done it yet. First off, you don't need to pace it the way you think you need to pace it. I did a time trial on Friday before I raced on Sunday, and I took it easy because I was like, I just want to feel what it's like to go from station to station and do all the work. And I think I was like high 12s. And then at the race, I raced head to head against one of my athletes that I was like, she's going to have actually, I had 3 females. I'm like, I don't know which one of these is going to have the best time. One of them kicked off the event, so she got all the fame for having the initial go, and she put up a really good time. And then the next one beat her, and then the last one, and I lined up head to head, and we went head to head, and I beat her on the thruster. She kicked my ass on the burpees, and then I was kind of like, say, 10 reps behind on everything. But then I guess I gained a little time probably on the overheads, the like push presses. And then I went unbroken on the jump rope, and she tripped a couple times. And I'm like, yes, I'm back. Yeah. And then I was like, you're not beating me on the Atlas, Gary. Like, this is my jam. I'll pick this up and run super fast. So we both put up great times. We both have our respective gender records, and I ended up beating her by 20 seconds. But
yeah, she was like 11:38 or something like that. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
So without that, like, I just did a time trial on Friday all by myself. Yeah. And then when we were racing, I knew she was going to be a valiant competitor. Yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm going, and we're synchronized on this. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not going too hard. She's not going if she goes, like most of the time people race me in DEKA Strong and they kill me on the row, and I'm like, I'll see you soon. I know the pace I'm going to hold, but
right.
I think in DEKA Strong and High Rocks, there's a station in the middle where I'm like looking forward to just kind of like reset and rest. Like in this Strong, it's the ski. I'm like, I can dog the ski, catch my breath, relax, and then pick it up. In High Rocks, it's the row. Same thing. It's like the mid station. I'm just going to chill. I'll get some pulls, relax, and then I'll finish Strong. Atlas doesn't have one of those stations because the bear call comes and then you don't actually get to catch your breath on anything. The jump rope probably is that if you can relax and just spin the rope and stay in yourself, that's probably the only station you kind of get reprieve from. But everything else is just a grind. You got to just pick the weight back up, keep going.
The beautiful thing about Atlas that I haven't really experienced in them is there you don't think in Atlas at all, right? You know, some of them you like thinking, "Ooh, how do I feel? Like, can I push here?" In Atlas, it's just, well, this is your pace.
You can always push.
Like,
you don't need to.
I can't think about this pace. This is it.
Mhm.
And going head to head with someone's so much fun because, especially me and the head coach, when we did it in practice, we broke up most things. The first 5 stations or so, we did them all unbroken, and it was like first one to blink, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, you're not gonna break, I'm not gonna break. Let's see what happens. And yeah, it was just fun. And then I thought I was out of it, and then to be able to come back. The push press surprises people, I think, because it's the only dual dumbbell thing in there, and it's at the end. You've already done the thrusters. Depends how you hold the dumbbell for the other stuff. And the bear crawl gets your shoulders a little bit. So that push press surprises people, I think, in the 8th station.
For sure. I think talking to everyone that raced at ours, the bear crawl is the worst, but it's not hard. It's just a grind. And then you lose time. Like you have to come off of it every time. And then also people ask like, oh, do you have to put the weights down on the farmers and the Atlas? Yes, you do. That's in the rules. Otherwise I wouldn't. I would just keep going.
Exactly.
But
you
because
have 10 Atlas clean. Well, you have to put it down and pick it back up. Yeah.
Because you're forced to break like that.
2 movements in that station, you know. It's like when you look at like a devil press, and you're like, oh, it's only 10 devil press, but a devil press is a burpee and 20 reps, right? Like, but you don't see it initially. Just like with the Atlas carry, it's 100 meters, but it's 10 cleans, right? And like with the deadlifts, it's 60 meters of carry, but it's also 6 deadlifts, so it's funny that like so really it's like 15 stations, this thing that you think is 10.
That's Yancey's master of the programming with DEKA Strong and then this, and everyone's like, oh, DEKA Strong, I could do the bike that fast. I'm like, yeah, I can too, but you blow your quads up on like 6 stations and then you need them for the bike, and like, all right, now where are you at? And then if you do, like, you still got to move, because it just chips away at you. So
burpees on that DEKA are some of the hardest burpees I've ever done in my life. So it's just like you've got nothing left, So but that's about 40 minutes, dude. So I don't want to take up the whole day, but really enjoyed talking to you and
thanks, sir.
Interacting with you on Instagram and trying to beat your scores.
Thank you.
I hope we can do some fun stuff together this year. It seems like you're open to have a good time.
Sure.
Stuff. So maybe we can figure something out where we live stream something against each other, or maybe we'll try and come up and visit you and beat you guys at something.
Hope so. Yes, please. Yeah, we've had quite a few athletes fly in to compete at our events, especially the DEKA Mile, because we make a pretty tight course. But we did a head-to-head, I think, on our DEKA Mile weekend against Hybrid House, which is based in Myrtle Beach. So we're open to all that kind of stuff. It's fun. We all get better by pushing each other, and iron sharpens iron. So,
well, yeah. And just thanks for being a leader in the space. You're very positive, and like this is what it's all about: is like meeting people that have time for other people and want to help other people get better. And so it's been fun, and look forward to seeing you sometime in 2025, hopefully at an event. And
yes, sir.
Yeah, keeping this going. So
cool. Have a great event tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing the numbers and the videos, and Is Matt B. Davis coming tonight, or is he?
He said he might be
up there?
coming. I'm not sure, but I'd love him to go through it. I think he said he's going to do foundations.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then, yeah, and then there's something that I wanted to. We've kind of, I think, I'll show you. I'll send you a video of you walking through how we've got our event set up, because I think we've nailed it. Where we can have 3 lanes, but we can set people off like staggered start. We don't have to wait for you to finish. And it's a pretty tight rotation where like we have the first 3 stations at the top of the gym, the second 3 stations in the middle, and the last 3 at the end. Because what we like to like get people moving, you know, we don't need to wait for a whole heat to finish.
Yeah.
So,
with strong, I'm like, we can make this really fast. But with the Atlas, I'm glad we talked about that after I went, and I'm like, I'm not opening a lot of spots because I'm not gonna force people to wait 3 hours to get their wave in.
Yeah.
And we managed it as well as we could have with what we had on the day. Cool. But so much opportunity to get more throughput, and I'm excited to see how your setup goes, because that we will have Atlas again in May, and we want to have much more throughput.
Yeah, we're doing three lanes tonight. Luckily, that middle lane will be like Atlas Foundations and women, you know. So, but I want to try and get 5 or 6 lanes and like figure out the configuration. But I'll send you a video of how we do it.
Sweet.
And you just need a lot of dumbbells.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Ant.
Have a great weekend.
Care. Pleasure chatting.
Talk to you soon. Thanks, buddy. Bye. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. If you haven't signed up for our Atlas yet, go get signed up. There's still some spots available, and we will see you in the gym tonight. Hope you enjoyed hanging out with Kevin. I know I did, and excited to see how we can help each other and how we can help people grow in this hybrid fitness space and get more people to a start line. All right. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend.